it's morning for you or afternoon by now, but it's a pleasure to...
It's exactly noon for me.
Well, what a great pleasure to have this conversation with you. You are the founder of EBR HR Expert. Can you tell us what is it about and how you are trying to help the job seekers?
Yes, so I started EBR back in 2015 as a human resource consultant. That's my educational background, that's my work background. And as I was trying to build my client base, I had people start reaching out and asking me to help them with their resumes. It's kind of a common thing, right? When everybody asks their favorite HR person, hey, can you look at this for me? And I found out there's this market for it and there's this massive need for it. So we have slowly shifted. I still have a small base of business clients, but the bulk of my business is now working with job seekers. Most of them reach out to me for help with their resume, but we do everything from helping that mid-level professional figure out what that next step looks like, all the way through negotiating their salary. And everybody needs a little something different.
Yeah, especially as women, sometimes we seems to don't like negotiating our salary. So do you find that more common with women than men?
It is far more common with women. Probably twice as many men go in prepared. Women have a tendency, I actually read a study last year that said women have a tendency, even when they know what the going rate is, women will ask for the low end, men will ask for above the high end. It's the way we're programmed. So helping women to turn it from a skill set, and it is a skill set and it always will be, and the more you practice, the better you get, but to give them just some tools to use so they don't have to feel like it matters whether they're good at negotiating or not, and just helping them take that step, right? Because this time they may not negotiate as much as they should, but next time they're going to be more confident. And after that, even more confident. And it builds over time. Women who start their career at a lower pay rate than men, over the years, it compounds. And it's very, very important for us to take care of ourselves financially.
Absolutely, because if we don't, we have a household to take care of. If we don't take care of the household, we have more problems. And it's I think it's not good. And I'm glad to meet other women like yourself that's actually doing that, helping us negotiate. Even in the business part, even when we own our own business, also sometimes we don't pay ourselves. Why? We're working hard. We should do these things. So it's great to see it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because studies tell me the same thing about business owners. Do you know the average female business owner makes around $50,000 a year? We just don't pay ourselves.
I guess we don't like money.
We're giving it to everybody else. We think that we're not worth it, right? We have to spread it out amongst everybody else instead of it being okay for us to take it. And I'm here to tell you that is not the case. We have to start advocating for ourselves, whether we own the business or we work inside the business. We have to advocate for ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when it comes to you helping them negotiate their income, so do you take them to a process to help them with that, especially when it's come to women that actually might think this is too high, don't ask for it because I don't want to not getting the job,
So really education and knowledge is the foundation of what I teach. And the first thing I teach is that over 70% of businesses expect you to negotiate. The numbers vary depending on who you ask, but every study agrees that it's over 70%. So that means if you're not negotiating, then 70% of the time you're leaving money on the table. Companies that don't negotiate, as long as you don't come to them with an all or nothing attitude, I know if you try to negotiate with me and I can't do it as a business owner, I'm not going to say I'm pulling your offer. I'm going to say, you know what, this is as high as I can go. I'd love to have you, but this is what I have to offer. I'm not going to yank it from you. And once you assure people and give them the words and the tools to use to not do it the wrong way, they're more likely to ask. And that's all it takes. right? That's all it
Absolutely.
takes is asking. And the other thing is understanding your worth. It is so easy nowadays to find out what your contemporaries, what your colleagues are making. It's a Google search, right? HR consultants in Dallas, Fort Worth, and I can tell you what the other people doing what I'm doing are making. Resume writers in Dallas, Fort Worth, career coaches in Dallas, Fort Worth. I can get a very good idea. And instead of saying, well, at my last job I made, so now I need to make, or my house and car payment are this much, so now I need to make, you come in with facts. Well, the DFW market is paying this for this position. I have X number of years experience. Here's what I bring to the table. Therefore, based on this information provided, this is what I'm asking. And now we're talking facts, not wants, not needs. And it's a lot harder for an employer to push back on that. Or if they do, they have to tell me why they don't pay market rate.
Absolutely. I love that. So let's go back to your story because I know you didn't just get into starting your own business and being an expert in that. So what led you to this career path itself?
You know, I have worked in small businesses almost my entire career, and I love it. And when I say small, I'm talking about, some people talk money. I like to talk employee size because employees are what I do, right? And so the average size business I've been in over the past 25 years is somewhere between 10 and 15 employees.
Wow.
Small business. I've been very, very lucky. I've worked for absentee owners where I'm effectively managing their business for them in the day-to-day pieces of it. So I've learned from good decisions. I've learned from bad decisions, and I've learned with other people's money. I've been very lucky in that I've been able to watch what works and what doesn't over the years. And when I left my last employer, I was left with a decision, right? I started looking for another small company to go to work for and said, do I really want to keep making money for everybody else? And I said, I don't. I didn't really know that HR people could go to work for themselves because we're employee people, right?
Yeah.
So I did my research, I figured that out, and I knew I wanted to try it on my own. So here we are 7.5 years later. And
wow, that's awesome. So how's the journey been so far?
Lots of ups and downs. It's stressful. It's scary some days, but I wouldn't do anything different. I wouldn't have it any other way. And the thought of going back to work for somebody else, you know, I've had one or two offers over the last few years, and I couldn't imagine. I like my freedom. I like the opportunity to say no to the wrong things, to spend the right amount of time on the right things. So.
It's that can be a little bit hard to switch, especially when you're only used to, having your own business, and at the end, why get somebody else rich when you can get rich for yourself?
That's right. That's right. I still have a little ways to go, but we do a little better every year, so.
You will get there, I have no doubt. So what are the services that you offer?
So, like I said, we work with small businesses. That's our foundational business. Is we provide all human resource related businesses for. My sweet spot is service-based businesses with less than 20 employees, and my goal is to grow them up into hiring their own HR department. But they're organizations that don't need a full-time HR, and I really do strictly consulting with them. They call me, they say, Krystal, I have a problem today. Help walk me through the legal way to handle it. We do that, and they go on their way. I do handbooks. I do all the typical. I help them with policies, create and maintain policies, all the really fun, exciting pieces of employment. But I like to say that I'm equipping them to do it on their own. And then, of course, the more active part of my business is the working with job seekers. And I like to meet them where they're at. My average client is mid to late career, mid to high level management. and often trying to transition into something new.
Okay.
And just walking them through that process, right? Sometimes it's, I know I don't want to do what I've been doing anymore, but I don't know where I want to go. And so helping them navigate that. Sometimes it's a very clear, I've identified this new opportunity and I just need to figure out how to market myself appropriately to get there. So whatever that looks like, it's equipping them with the knowledge. Job hunting's hard. And it's
yes, it is
complicated. And my average client has been doing it so long and it has changed so drastically. I know when I got into the job market, you got the Sunday paper, you circled your ads, you mapped out your route, and you got in the car on Monday morning and you drove. And you handed that really nice, thick linen paper with your resume on it. And you just, it doesn't work that way anymore. And so teaching them how to navigate artificial intelligence, LinkedIn, job boards, the whole networking, the whole 9 yards of the job search, and to be effective in it. And I'm going to tell you, my favorite part of the day is when I get that phone call or that email that said, I just got the offer. I just got the offer I wanted. There is nothing better than when a client calls you and tells you that. So
I know that you work with both sides. So which side do you like to work with better?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I really like both sides. And I like maintaining both because they balance each other out. You know, when things happen, you know, we just went through a pandemic. Our world shifted over the course of 2 years. I've been saying that we've advanced about 20 years in the work world over the past 2 because we've been forced in to learn how to manage remotely and all these things. We've been working in that direction. So, and my favorite part of the day is, I solve problems on the one side. I educate people to find their own solutions on the other. So obviously my favorite part is getting, hey, I just got my dream job. But I really, really enjoy helping to equip businesses as well. People don't like, as a rule, employees don't like HR people, right? They're mean, they're nasty, they're out to get me. And that's so far from the truth if you've got a good one. A good HR person is going to balance the needs of the business with the needs of the employee and make them work together. How can I best take care of you as an employee while maintaining profitability? And quite frankly, I've said for years, and as a business owner and as an employer, I'm going to tell you, my clients aren't my most important focus. My employees are. And by taking the best care of my employees, we're all able to take the best care of my clients, right?
Yes.
And teaching businesses how to do that and to balance that it's great. It's life-changing for the business owners. It's life-changing for the employees. And to be able to make that happen, I don't have to be the bad guy. I shouldn't. Oh, well, and quite frankly, too often, bad managers like to blame it on HR when they have no decision making, when HR is doing nothing but delivering the message. But that's my job. That's all HR people's job is to, how do I meet all of the needs of the business by taking care of my employees, not letting them take advantage of me, not doing things I shouldn't be doing, but how do I balance the best for everybody? And finding those solutions, I'm a problem solver. Finding those solutions is a lot of fun. So I didn't actually answer your question. But
no, you did. You actually did. You answered the question for me because for me, it's a balance. You balance the two.
Yes.
So you did.
Good.
So you also help the veterans returning from military to service to get work. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so there is such a disconnect between the military world and the civilian world. And I don't know if you know this. I didn't know this before I started to do this, but there's actually a whole service when a veteran, when an active military person is leaving the military, there's a course they'll take and that will teach them how to write their resume, how to job search. The problem is it's being taught by military people, career military who've never been in the corporate world, and often their information is so dated. They don't understand the terminology, just like the corporate world doesn't understand the military terminology. So
Sure.
what we do is we translate that information for them. Most of my staff has taken a course that has helped us to learn the lingo, the way it works, right? Learn how to speak the language of the veteran. But more importantly, I've actually got a military veteran on staff, and we tap her knowledge constantly on, okay, how does this work? How do we translate this? How do we take this information and speak it into a way that the corporate world will understand? And to make it even better, she's my lead resume writer, but she is also, before she came to me, she was in corporate human resources. So she's done a little bit of recruiting, a whole lot of HR, and then she was in the military prior. So she's got that really great foundational knowledge. So we educate ourselves, but more importantly, we tap our resources and use them as effectively as we can in-house. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of shifting of mindset. I've worked with veterans who have just beaten their heads against the wall, and they're like, nobody wants to hire me. And they usually come to me and say, nobody wants to hire me because I'm a veteran. And I'm like, you couldn't be more wrong. There are so many industries that will prioritize hiring you because you are a veteran. I mean, there's tax credits, there's a work ethic, there's so many positive things around veterans. But if I don't understand what you're capable of or what you've done, and which is the problem with resumes across the board. People aren't always great at conveying what they're capable of in their resume, right? They write up these job histories that don't mean anything to us as an employer and don't translate. So that's really, we provide translation services for veterans. We also do some volunteer work with a couple of organizations, helping veterans, reviewing resumes, that sort of thing, doing some workshops and that sort of thing.
Well, you are like committed to this, fully committed to it.
Absolutely. Look, we get ahead in the world by helping others. And
exactly,
so
I agree.
That's what we do. I feel very, very blessed that we are, as a team, are able to make a living off of that. But yeah.
So the work
by giving.
Right, exactly. The work is not really for the money. It's the passion behind it.
And the money comes. That's absolutely right. So
yes.
Yeah.
So in September 2018, you published your first book. So can you tell us about the book?
I did. It's called The Insider's Guide to Your Dream Career. I believe too often when we're job searching, we just go out there, we start hitting the easy apply, we just look for the easiest into the next position. And that is so, and I did that for years, by the way, so no judgment when I say this. This is just what I've learned by watching people over the years. If you're going to invest your time, if you're going to invest your effort, and if you're going to invest in services like mine, then instead of investing in another job, invest in the right job. And so this book walks you through the right way to job search, because most people don't know how to do it the right way. And I teach you how to do it more efficiently, more effectively, and in most cases, how to land faster. And I actually just this month published the second edition of that book. We updated it a little bit with things change over time, right?
Yes.
And we added a chapter on video interviewing, because while that happened back in 2018, it's become far, far more common now. I have clients who land without ever setting foot on corporate property. They've done all of their interviews via video. So I think that's a very important, yes. So the book's on Amazon, and it's on Kindle and in hard copy, and it will walk you through, and it also talks to you about why. There's a lot of bad advice out there when it comes to the job search. Everybody's got an opinion. So the book walks you through best practices, not just why I'm going to recommend a course of action, but why it might apply to you and what the alternatives might be as well. So not just do this, but here's why we recommend this as a best practice. So you can understand, you may be the exception that proves the rule, or you may want to actually follow this advice, but there's so much conflicting advice out there. We want you to understand why we're giving the specific advice we're giving, so you can know whether you want to follow this particular or not. This is also a great foundation. When I'm coaching people, I always tell them, start here, read the book, and then we can form our coaching around answering your questions. That way we can focus on what matters most to you instead of, I do have a course that you can go from start to finish, but most people don't need that much, especially at the level we work with. They need just specific chunks here and there.
So do you do one-on-one coaching or group coaching as well?
We do both. We offer both, and it really depends on what your needs are. I have found that people learn really well from their peers, just as well from their peers as they do from me. Sometimes you don't know what questions to ask in coaching. So if you were to come to me and you had specific needs, we'd probably schedule one-on-one, knock out those specific concerns. So we do both one-on-one coaching. If you are looking for specific questions or specific answers to specific questions, then we'll generally recommend one-on-one, and we can very quickly knock out your specific needs. My average one-on-one coaching person uses about 3 hours. Group coaching is very structured. We've got a set syllabus that we use, but we find that people learn very well from others as well, hearing their questions, hearing their problems. So if you've got specific questions, Krystal, I need help negotiating, and that's really all I need help with, I'm going to recommend we schedule a one-on-one. If you come to me and say, Krystal, I don't know what I'm doing, I need help job searching, I'll probably put you in the group coaching, where we provide videos, emails, little snippets of information, and then we sit down every other week and come together as a group and answer everybody's questions. So you can hear what other people are doing. It's also really good networking. Most of my clients are in the DFW area, although I do work with people across the country. And sometimes people are able to identify opportunities for other people, right? My current organization is hiring this other position that I have no interest or skill in, but maybe I'm in HR, you're in marketing, and my current position is looking for somebody in marketing. It's not for me, but maybe it's for you. Or, maybe I just looked at another company and they've got a marketing position open. But I just find that working together as a group is beneficial for everybody. So.
Yeah, and that gives you more confidence too, right? The confidence, you get to build it better.
It does. And when you know that you're not alone, right? When you get to hear from other people that they're in the same boat, they're struggling with the same things as you feel a lot less alienated.
Yes.
Because the job search tends to do that. And those people that we have around us that support us the most, usually our spouses, our partners, they can be the worst people to, right? We have to share with them. They have to be part of the decision-making process. But the last thing we want to do is vent to them and share our frustrations with them, because guess what? They are just as frustrated as you are, only they have no control over the situation. And so it tends to cause additional problems in an already stressful time in your life. So to have other people that can go, yep, I'm having the same problem this week. Yep, I'm just as stressed. Yep, I got yet another rejection and no feedback. I don't know what I did wrong. Is it me? Is it them? Am I applying to the wrong thing? And to be able to talk it through with peers is just so helpful for people.
Yes, it is. Now, can you also tell us a little bit about the course that you have?
The course that
Yes.
I have?
Mm-hmm.
So we literally walk you through we start by talking about figuring out what that next job looks like. Even if you are on a very clear path, people don't often think through things like culture until they're in the wrong place. But think about why you've left your last couple of jobs. And it's usually because what it breaks down to at the most basic level is it's a culture thing. So what's the right culture for you? What are your benefit must-haves? Because I work with a lot of, late career professionals, sometimes I work with people who say, I'm done with the corporate rat race. I want to go work for a startup. But we start talking through their needs, and they've got a family at home and they're the sole provider of benefits. Okay, well, let's back up. Let's talk about if that's really the best option right now, maybe in a few years, but most startups don't offer good benefits, right? Now, should that always, there are alternative options if that's really the right path, but it's things that people don't often think about until they're in the thick of it and until it's a problem. So we work through all of those things. We get you working through thinking about all of those things. So we start there, and then we start looking at personal branding, your resume, your LinkedIn, if you have a portfolio. Then we start talking through interviewing. Let me back up. We talk through creating a job search plan, scheduling out your activities, making sure you're not just sitting online and hitting easy apply, which is what most people do. And I have clients who were spending 8 hours a day doing that, and they shouldn't be. You need to be networking. You need to be researching organizations. You need to be writing cover letters. You need to be doing so many different things. But people don't know what those are. So we talk about what that looks like, how to create a calendar, then how to, write those cover letters, how to interview, the different types of interviews, informational interviews, and what those are and what those aren't. And again, all the way through, okay, I've got my offer. I'm super excited. Now, how do I negotiate that salary? How do I gracefully walk out of an interview halfway through it when I've determined there is no way, I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste mine, but how do I do that gracefully and respectfully? So we cover the gamut of all things related to the job search.
This is something very interesting. You say that if they doing the interview but they're not interested, so you teach them how to stop that interview, be able to walk away from it?
That's right. That's
Wow.
exactly right. We also teach them how to ask the right questions. Too many people go into an interview and treat it as a one-way conversation. An interview should be a two-way conversation. It should be a conversation, period. Right? And it's a decision that both parties get to make. I'm not going into 5 interviews and hoping one of them picks me. I'm going into 5 interviews, and I'm also deciding if they're a good fit for me while they're trying to decide if I'm a good fit for them.
That is interesting.
But we don't usually think of it that way, do we?
No, we don't.
We don't think about, should I be applying for this job? People go, okay, well, I could do that job if I had to, click. We shouldn't be doing that. We should only be applying if we think it's a good fit. Now, we obviously don't have all the information. That's why we do the interview. But I can't tell you how many times a client has called me and said, okay, this company called me for an interview and I don't want to do it. What do I do? And my response to that is, don't take it. A, don't take the interview if you know you don't want the job. But B, why did they call you? Did they just reach out to you out of the blue? Well, be respectful. Don't burn the bridge, right? Talk to the recruiter about what you would consider. But if you applied for the job and now you don't even want that first interview, let's talk about why. And let's talk about what you should be doing differently to not do that. Cover letters. People don't like to write cover letters because they're so time consuming, right? I don't have time for that.
It is.
And that's fair. That's very, very fair. But here's the reality. You don't have time because you're trying to apply. You've got some quota in your head. I need to apply to 15 jobs a day. And that's a bad idea. It should be quality over quantity.
So what you are saying is take your time to apply for one job, do it well, instead of you trying to do 10, 20 in a day where it's almost like impossible to accomplish that. And you're in a rush, you make mistakes, and you come out with looking bad.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Focus on what matters. Focus on what interests you, as opposed to, some arbitrary number that you've come up with to satisfy your sense of I've done what I need to today.
Exactly. So when it's come to LinkedIn, how do you help them? Do you just guide them on how to make the LinkedIn better, or you also provide that service?
We have a partner that does a full branding on LinkedIn if people need that. And some do, but some just need to optimize it for their job search and just need to make sure that they're doing the right things while they're looking. So internally, we make sure that their profile reflects the job that they're looking for. If they need more than that, if they need help using it, if they need help doing a full branding, then we have a partner organization that we refer them out to that is just phenomenal. He's known nationally, and he'll teach them how to use it. He'll help them brand, he'll help them with their profile, but he'll also teach them how to actually use it. A lot of our executives and a lot of our sales reps are good referrals because they should be using LinkedIn all day, every day. Well, we all should, right? LinkedIn is not a job site. I also like to say LinkedIn is not social media. LinkedIn is online networking. Right. It's online networking that happens to have a feature that allows you to look for jobs.
Exactly.
So it's making that very small mind shift to using it correctly.
I wish more people will say it the way you just did, because a lot of people looked at it, just apply for jobs, but not really. It's not just that. It's way more than that. Just the job part is a small piece of LinkedIn.
That's exactly right. And if your profile doesn't reflect the appropriate information, let me tell you a story. I hired a new recruiter for my HR consulting side of the business last year. And I got well over 50 resumes in the first day.
Wow.
And most, if not all, hadn't read the job description. I know this for a fact because many of them didn't have the sourcing experience, the number one skill I was looking for. They didn't have it. I asked for a cover letter. By the way, as a hiring manager, I don't read resumes. I know how bad they are. I like cover letters. And I will call you based on, now I am absolutely not the norm. So take that with a grain of salt. But I don't want resumes. I want to know why you want to work for me. They weren't doing that. And they were applying out of state when I was very specifically looking for. So it was interesting, but it just told me what I already knew. Now, this is recruiters. This is people who work with job seekers every day making these mistakes. So if recruiters are making these mistakes, what do you think the typical job seeker who hasn't looked for a job in 10 years is doing?
Yep, exactly. Wow.
I love to talk about that, not to pick on recruiters, but seriously to say, if these are the mistakes that seasoned recruiters are making, right? And these are people that understand ATS, the applicant tracking software, that understand the hiring process and all of the ins and outs and moving parts that go with it. We all make mistakes. So, of course, we expect that average Joe or Jane who hasn't had a job change in 15 years. We expect those mistakes. So how do we overcome those? How do we make the job search better? I get conversations of bias all the time. They're not hiring me because fill in the blank. My age, my race, my gender, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not naive, okay? It does happen. Look, I've talked to recruiters who won't even talk to you if your resume's not done in Times New Roman 10, right, whatever.
Wow.
Bias exists, and certainly bias surrounding age, gender, race exists, but it is not rampant the way it was 10, 15 years ago. So if you've applied to 20 jobs and 20 people haven't gotten back to you, I promise you it's not that bias. Maybe one or two, maybe 5 of them, but not all of them. So we have to shift the view, and we have to ask, okay, what can I do? I can't change them. What can I do to change the way I am putting myself out there, the way I'm representing myself, to make myself more visible to the right people, more appealing to the right people?
Yes.
Right? Yes. And we're often so close to our own job search, we can't see it. We can't see through those issues. You know, they won't hire me for age is generally code for I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it the way I was doing it 20 years ago and it's not working anymore. I worked with a 76-year-old man a couple of years ago.
Wow.
That man came in. I need a resume. I need you to make it look modern. I need you to make it look up to date. I need it to have all the right keywords. I'm going to be working in the next couple of weeks. And at that time in his profession in DFW, I said, it's going to take 9 months. And he looked at me and he said, no, it's not. And do you know what? It didn't. That man was working in less than 2 months because he was willing to do what it took. He had the right attitude and he had the right drive. Now, will that happen every time? Absolutely not. But he didn't let anything get in his way. He went out, he got uncomfortable, he did what he had to do, and he made it work.
Wow. When you need to make things happen, you make it happen.
So when the 45-year-old white man comes to me and says, I can't get hired because everybody thinks I'm too old, I say, nope, I don't believe that for a minute, right? And I'm not picking on that middle-aged white man. You know, I hear it from people of all, you know, we're in Dallas. We've got a very, very diverse, you know, job pool here.
Jobs.
And I've seen it from everybody. But again, with that diversity, that tells me one employer maybe it's going to happen. You know, I had a personal situation. I certainly hope that this is not the case anymore. I'm in Dallas. It's over 100 degrees right now. And I went on an interview once. I was looking for a job, and they told me that they weren't going to hire me because I showed up without pantyhose on in the middle of the summer. And I said, well, we're not going to be a good fit because I don't do pantyhose.
People still wear them?
And people do. Like I said, I don't think it would be the same problem today as it was. We've gone far more casual just over the past few years, but bias exists. And I pick on that because it's a silly little bias that any woman can, right? Any woman can laugh about and go, I don't blame you. So every organization has their culture. That's part of their culture. Every organization has their biases. We only like to hire young, high energy people. We only like to hire older people. We only like to hire whatever. Sometimes it's not legal. Sometimes it's perfectly legal. My advice is you can't fix them. By all means, if you see something blatantly illegal, say something. But beyond that, look at yourself. What can I do and focus on finding the right fit for you, because the reality is you don't want to work for that organization anyway. I didn't want to work for that organization that was going to force me to wear a dress with pantyhose every day. You don't want to work for that organization that's not going to appreciate you for who you are. So focus on that. Focus on doing the right thing for yourself, your job search. Always go in with a positive attitude. Always assume the best of the person across from you. This is hard for a lot of people.
Yes.
And sometimes that person does not have your best interest. But here's the thing, you don't know. And this is something I learned. I started my career in the training department of a retail store, one that doesn't exist anymore, but everybody's probably heard of. And one of the things that I learned there, that I taught there, was kill them with kindness.
Ooh.
Here's the thing. We don't know, right? It can be very, very hard to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. So if we assume the best from them, and they're not giving us their best, they're going to continue to show themselves in the worst possible light, and it's going to become very, very obvious. If they do assume the best and we're giving them the benefit of the doubt and we're being kind, they're going to quickly shift and be kind back, right? Sure. It's just like with the angry customer. Man, I am livid. I'm mad at you. You screwed up. And I come in and you start arguing with me and telling me why I'm wrong. I'm getting madder and madder and madder, and it's going to escalate, right? If I come in and I'm mad and you go, you're right. We're so sorry. Let's try to fix this.
Yes.
De-escalate, right? And I always used to tell I was training mostly teenagers, and I always used to tell my kiddos, plus the bonus is if they're really set out to be a jerk, you're only going to piss them off worse by by being nice to them, and they've got nothing on you. What are they going to do? Tell your manager you were nice to them? I was yelling and they were nice to me, right? So you do the same thing to that interviewer. You assume the best, and if they've said something inappropriate accidentally, they're going to catch themselves and they're going to apologize and they're going to shift. And if they're not, it's going to become very, very obvious, and you can act on that information.
Absolutely.
So, as hard as that is, if you can teach yourself to make that shift, it makes all the difference in your forward movement. And I'm going to tell you something else. HR people, recruiters, they talk. And so maybe I interview you and it's not the right fit. Maybe we both recognize that. Maybe it's a decent fit, but I truly do have a candidate that's just a better fit. But I know somebody. I know this other recruiter over here who's looking for something similar. And you impressed me, and you stood out, and you were kind, and you were professional, and you handled yourself well. What's going to happen? I'm going to refer you.
Yeah.
What if you weren't kind? What if you got angry because you got yet another brush off, right? And you're going to assume it's because of whatever bias you think I have. And guess what? 9 out of 10 times, when you're not chosen as the candidate, it really isn't about you. It's about somebody else who really, truly is a better fit, because they've got closer experience, because whatever. So you can't, as hard as it is to hear that, you can't internalize that. So if you have that good attitude, you're more likely to get good feedback, and you're more likely to make a connection that could maybe help you in the future.
Yes, I love that advice. But another thing I wanted to ask you also, you also mentor entrepreneurs and startup small business owners through SCORE. So I'm just curious to know more about it.
So SCORE is a sister organization to the Small Business Association, the SBA, which most people have heard of. Many people haven't heard of SCORE. When I started my business with my HR background, I had the opportunity to go be a client or to go be a mentor. And because I didn't have a lot of business, and because I had the time, I decided, just like with my group coaching, I can learn more through the questions of other people, right, than going and asking my own questions. And so I started working with SCORE, volunteering with them very shortly after I started my business. And let me tell you, it's been great. I've learned more about the pains of my clients. I've learned more about running my business. When I see people making mistakes, I can go, oh, let me make sure I don't do that. Or sometimes I hear myself, especially now that I've been doing it for so long, I hear myself giving advice, and then I think, I finish up my session and I go, maybe I should listen to my own advice. Let me try that in my own business. So I don't do as much of it now as I used to. And most of what I do is assist other mentors with HR problems. They'll send me their clients to deal with specific HR issues. But yeah, it's a really great way for me to grow my own knowledge. And it's a great way to give back to the community too. So.
Talking to you, one thing I realized, you like to give back to the community, which is awesome.
I do. Sometimes maybe a little bit too much. Maybe I should focus on my business a little bit more, but
it's a great thing. I like that.
I do believe that we are all obligated to give to those around us, and we have to do it in the way that makes the most sense for us. So when I started my business, I didn't have any money, but I had a lot of time. And so I set that precedent of that I can at least give of my time and my knowledge.
Absolutely. So now my next question is, after all these years, you give to the community, you build your business, you've done a lot. What's next for you in the business?
Well, I like to keep growing. I would like to grow it so it's a little bit more self-sustaining. I'd like to pull myself out of the day-to-day a little bit more. I'm hiring some really great people who have just as much good knowledge as I do. We're putting them with clients more often. And I'm going to tell you what I really like. I think I said this earlier. I really like speaking. I like to impact groups of people at once. So we've been working on finding more speaking opportunities for me.
Okay.
So I think that's what's next, is to continue to grow what I have and to do a little bit more speaking. I had my first live speaking gig outside of Dallas earlier this year. I feel like that was probably set back a little bit because of COVID, but we did that. I've got another conference speaking engagement later this year, and we're looking for more opportunities. So that's where we're at.
All right, let's do it.
Yes.
So what is the advice that you like to share with women entrepreneurs that is out there just starting out and trying to find the path?
I'm going to say something that's a little bit dangerous. Fake it until you make it. Always check, self-check. Don't do anything stupid. Have mentors, have your personal, some people call it that personal board of directors around you. I have mentors around me that I use for different things, but just do it. When you find yourself questioning yourself, push through, make it happen. Ignore the excuses. It's not gotten any easier over the years. It's still just as hard, but the foundation grows.
Yes.
You look back, you think you're struggling, you're having a bad day, you look and you go, what am I doing? And then you look at where you've come over the last year and you go, okay, just because it was slow and incremental doesn't mean there wasn't growth. The stability, the first 2 or 3 years of my business were super unstable. And I know the biggest reason people go out of business is because they haven't planned for their personal finances. So
yes,
take care of that, whether it's a full-time job while you're growing, whatever that looks like. Sometimes our spouses help us. But Focus on that, keep pushing forward, and you'll get there. It took me until, I want to say, year 4 to bring home a stable income. But I support myself with my business now, and it's fantastic. And I have for several years. So you will get there. You just
absolutely
persistence.
Just keep doing it. If just believe in yourself and have faith on you, because it will happen eventually. But don't give up. If you give up, how you will never know.
And walk away from the people who tell you you can't do it. They don't deserve you. There's always going to be somebody, and they're either coming from a place of fear, which you can't live in. You can't own and operate a business and live in fear. You just can't. Doesn't mean you don't get scared, but you can't stay there.
Absolutely.
Or they're just not going to be supportive of you. They don't want to see you grow and get better. So either way, you don't engage. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who will push you, but also that will challenge you.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I can tell you, without great mentors and great other women out there that just keep challenging me, making me feel like I can do better. Especially even our kids sometimes do that. I know my son do that to me too. He's like a big challenge to me. So find these people. They're usually around you. You just don't know that.
And there's usually another woman. I'm going to tell you the biggest support through the last 6 years. I met her about a year into my business. Is another woman who has become one of my dearest friends. She also owns a business, and she pushes me every day. She doesn't let me get away with excuses. I call her my accountability partner, right? And I do the same thing for her. We have different strengths, which is really helpful, but we just talk, we push, we encourage, we let each other, collapse on each other when we need to. We slap each other upside the head. Theoretically, not really, but we allow each other to talk through the hard stuff. We can be vulnerable with each other. Find that person and make sure it's not somebody who is financially linked to you, because that's when it gets dangerous. That's why the spouse doesn't work. That's why you can't do it with an employee. So, but yeah, support another woman out there in this process.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Krystal. I appreciate the time you take to have this conversation with me and for staying with me even through all the hiccups that we have today.
Yes.
So very much appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it.